Time to hang out with my sister girl. Hey, sister girl on films. Hey, sister girl on films. Hey.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, Sister Girl on Films, and we are back with episode 5 of House of Villains, The Shakedown. I think that's the name of the episode, child. The Shakedown, something about shake, okay? Like I said on my last review, I was looking forward to the next few episodes of the season because now I feel like we're about to get into the type of behavior that I enjoy when it comes to competition shows. The will they, won't they's of backstabbing and competitions. Like, I just love the duplicity of these competition shows. And so this episode for me did not disappoint. So the episode opens with the aftermath of the New York elimination. Now, New York got a majority of the House votes, but Anfisa is kind of curious as to who the two people were that voted against her. And so she knows that Bobby was one of them because, you know, Bobby gonna say what needs to be said. He don't bite his tongue. But she can't quite figure out who the second person was. Like, she has a suspicion that it's Shake, but she don't really have evidence to prove that it was in fact Shake. And so Anfisa and Shake are sitting down by the pool, and she asks him point blank, like, did you vote for me? And Shake is sitting there with his sunglasses on. She's like, take your sunglasses off, look me in my eyes, did you vote for me? And Shake was like, no. And then so Anfisa is like staring at him, and she was like, do you think it was Corinne? And so Shake at first was just going to go with the no, it wasn't him and let that be it. But then since Anfisa threw the name Corinne out there, he like, well, shit, let me go ahead and ride that wave. And he was like, in fact, I do. And so Bobby comes out, you know, just kind of see what they're talking about. And so Anfisa's like, well, I'm just trying to figure out who the other person was that voted for me to leave. She said, I know it was you, but I can't figure out who the other person was. And Shake thinks it was Corinne. And Bobby was like, it's not you? Talking to Shake. And Shake was like, no, it's not me. And Bobby was like, Bobby is already knowing. Like, it has to be Shake. Like, it's just 2 and 2 point to you, okay? And so Shake starts talking about how he overheard Corinne talking about how she was jealous of Anfisa because she felt like Anfisa and Johnny Bananas were kind of flirty, and she felt like Johnny would pick Anfisa over her. This is what Shake is saying. And the shady ass producers, they start to pretend like they're gonna roll back footage, and they have like a disclaimer that says, footage not available because this never happened. Let me tell you, if for nothing else, the producers on this show, for the most part, are on point. I have an issue with them on certain issues, but when it's time for them to be shady and petty, they are shady and petty, and I love it. So Shake, for whatever reason, keeps confiding in Bobby Lights. And so he pulls Bobby Lights aside. They're like upstairs in the room. And he's like, hey, I was the other person that voted for Anfisa to go home, but I don't want Anfisa to know that. So can we just keep it between me and you? And Bobby was like, oh yeah, I kind of knew that's what it was, but yeah, sure. And so in his individual confession, Bobby Lights is like, villain rule number 88, don't trust me. I love Bobby Lights on this show because that's the truth. Why are you confining anybody? Like, if your intent is to put eyeballs on Corinne and put suspicion on Corinne, keep that shit to yourself. Hell, even Johnny Fairplay be doing it. He be sneaking and telling people like what really went on. I'm like, is y'all conscience eating y'all up that much? Because if I'm a villain on a show about villainy, baby, I'm gonna lie on Corinne and I'm gonna stand 10 toes down on it until I'm proven otherwise. Because that's the name of the game. But Shake, he ain't built for this, honey. And so Bobby also says that he no longer has an alliance with Corinne because he views her as being fake because he had an alliance with her in New York. And so Corinne, in her own confessional, talks about how she trusts Bobby, and so she's concerned with him talking to other people behind her back because him in New York were the only people that she really had an alliance with. I'm like, then why the hell would he trust you if he know that the person you had an alliance with, you threw them out the house? Girl. And then so Bobby ends up telling Corinne and Anfisa that Shake was in fact that second vote to get Anfisa out the house. So Corinne is upset. She's like, I don't know why he's picking on me. Like, why is my name in his mouth? And so she's talking to Johnny Bananas, and she tells him about what Shake has been doing and how he been acting funny, and how even after she found out that he was talking about her, he been in her room just trying to talk about random shit. And she's just like, I don't know why he's acting so shady, and I don't know why he's targeting me. And so Johnny Bananas is like, look, I was villain of the week last week, and so I really don't want all eyes on me. So I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure Shake wins villain of the week, so that all the attention can be on him, and I can try to slide a little bit to the back and kind of, you know, have an easier week. And so we get to the battle royale, and the challenge is called Cold and Calculated. And so basically the villains are in this room that's like super cold, ice blocks everywhere. And so they have to melt the ice that's on the little podium to get out this little hammer. Once they melt the ice, get their little hammer out, then there's a bunch of like ice blocks in the middle. And then they have to run and grab one of the ice blocks. And the ice blocks either have a lock in it or a key. And depending on what they break open, if they break open a lock, they can put that lock on any of the other villains' chests that they have. Or if they want to use a key, to get the locks off of their chest, they can do that too. But whoever gets the lock off, all the locks off their chest first, and opens up their lock box wins villain of the week. The women kind of have this plan that they're all going to kind of stick together, and they're all gonna you know, go after Shake. Shake is like, in his mind, he's gonna go after Bobby and Corinne. So everybody kind of has a strategy, and so they're kind of going back and forth, and then it comes down to Shake and Omarosa are going at it to see who's gonna win. And so Shake gets his locks off first, and he's like, yeah, you're going up and you're going up, talking to like Bobby Lights and Corinne, and he's just like bragging. Joel is like, you gotta open your box, and Shake is just so like testosterone driven that he don't hear none of it. And so Omarosa's still working on her locks, and she opens up her box, and she ends up winning the battle royale. Honey, I know Shake felt this small. He had to feel this small, because not only were you not listening when the directions were given, because then he tried to argue down, no, you just said whoever get their locks off first. No. And of course, our shady producers wrote it back, and just like we all heard, except for Shake for whatever reason, you had to open your box. And so Omarosa won, and everybody's like looking at Shake and laughing. It's like, I bet you embarrassed. And he's just sitting there looking dumbfounded and whatnot. So we get back to the house, and Shake is just sitting here with his tail between his legs, embarrassed. And he's just like, the whole time I've been in this house, I've been questioning myself, like, why am I even here? Because I'm not really a villain like all these other people. You know, I've really changed. And even Johnny Bananas was like, Shake has really been trying to step away from him being a jerk and being mean to women while he's been on the show. But then the minute he thought he won something, the real him came out, and he immediately went after the women, which he did, because he was all up in, he wasn't in Corinne's face, but he did point her out like, bitch, you're going down. And so Shake starts going on this apology tour, and he starts with Corinne, and he's like, look, I want to be honest. I'm the one that voted for Anfisa to go home. And Corinne is like, well, why did you throw me under the bus? He was like, just because your name was brought up and you were there, and that's just what I did. And Corinne was like, well, that sucks. And so they move into the living room to keep up their conversation. Then eventually everybody kind of meets in the living room, and Shake just tells everybody the truth, that he had a like secret little pact with New York that he would not vote for her to leave, and that he would vote for Anfisa, and that he did lie and say that Corinne was the one that voted for New York. And Corinne is like, well, I don't appreciate you using me as like your pawn, like I don't deserve that. And Shake was like, but you're such an easy pawn. And so that pisses Corinne off, and she's just like, screw you. And he was just like, what? He was like, at this point, I'm gonna stop being nice and I'm gonna start being real world House of Villains, okay?
What? When people stop being polite. Could you get the phone?
And start getting real.
The real world.
Basically, Shake is like, The gloves are coming off. I'm just about to be, y'all want me to be the villain, I'ma be the villain. And so after Shake disrespects Corinne by calling her a brainless little pawn. I didn't put the brainless part in there, but he called her a brainless little pawn. Everyone kind of goes their own ways to kind of talk about the house meeting that happened. And so Omarosa and the women are all in the kitchen. And Omarosa's, you know, she got the gift of gab, honey. So she's basically selling the women on the fact that the women need to stick together because the men, you know, are going to be stronger. So the women need to band together so they can get all the men out, so they can shift the power dynamic in the house. And so the women are just eating it up. And Tanisha's like, this is all confusing, but it sounds good and I'm going to go with it. So Omarosa has convinced all the women that she's going to put up the men and they are safe from elimination this week. But my thing is, why did Corinne or Tanisha even trust that? Like, the only person in that room besides Omarosa that should trust Omarosa is Anfisa, and that's because that's her roommate. And they should know that at this point. Corinne got played for dust the first time Omarosa met her, and she really ain't been checking for her like that anyway. And then Tanisha and Omarosa just got into it last week. So I'm like, the fact that either one of them felt comfortable with that conversation and walking away like they were safe was crazy to me. But they about to find out real quick that you can't always trust Omarosa, okay? While Omarosa is on her little prize trip with Anfisa and Johnny Fairplay, because y'all know the person who wins the supervillain of the week gets to go on a little excursion or whatever. Everybody's in the house kind of chilling, doing their thing, and Corinne, thirsty ass, is in the pool with Johnny Bananas, and she's rubbing his feet and all the things. And Shake comes out, and Shake is just like, girl, do you ever stop? He just starts throwing so much shade at Corinne, talking about how thirsty she is and how she needs to let go of the Bachelor antics. And then he's like, I can see why you got eliminated from the Bachelor. I said, oh. And I hate to admit it, but Shake wasn't wrong, because Corinne do be throwing herself at Johnny Bananas, and everybody in the house sees that she is more into him than he is into her. And I just feel like maybe I hope all of this ends up working out for her in the end and she ends up winning the show. But right now she's just making herself look like a desperate chick with Johnny Bananas, who is not all that in the first place, okay?
You saber-toothed, hammered-head bastard. I don't...
And so before we get to the elimination, Tanisha and Corinne have like a ceremonial funeral for New York, her little doll, because they all have like dolls in the house that represent them. Now, me personally, this is just a sidebar. This whole little scene really didn't have a whole lot to do with this episode, but I did want to talk about it because it made me uncomfortable, because I personally don't play with spirits. I don't play with anything that feels like it could be a spiritual practice or ritualistic act. Okay? It felt very like they was putting a root on her. I'm just gonna be honest. It felt like they was putting a root on her. They put her little doll in the box, they taped the box up, and then they dug a little grave and they threw it in it. I didn't like that. It felt like they were putting bad luck on New York. They were putting a little dark magic on her. I know that's probably not what they was doing. I would assume. I don't know these women and their intentions, but it felt really gross to me. I just wanted to mention that. Anyway, so we get to the stronghold, and Omarosa, after kind of wheeling and dealing and having all these side conversations, she decides who she's going to put up for elimination. Now, Johnny Fairplay and Johnny Bananas were a little nervous because she had conversations with them before the stronghold of, you know, well, how would you feel if I put you up for elimination as kind of like a decoy person? Like, I know you'll go up, but you'll more than likely win the redemption challenge, and so you'll be safe type of conversations. And neither one of them was having it. Like, Johnny Fairplay felt like Omarosa was trying to play him by doing that. Johnny Bananas was like, all they trying to do is eliminate the strongest people so the weakest can float on to the end. And so it seems like those conversations that those two gentlemen had with Omarosa actually helps her make up her mind, because Omarosa puts up for elimination Shake, which we already knew. Corinne, Omarosa says... Before she announces Corinne's name, she says, the next person is someone that I have been wanting, that I felt like should have been gone a long time ago. And that is Corinne. Corinne, again, should not have been surprised by that. But I also feel like the conversation Omarosa had with Bobby Lights helps her make her decision to put up Corinne, because he kind of brought up the fact that Corinne and Johnny Bananas have that romantic thing going, which can almost be stronger than an alliance. And so those two are always going to have each other's back. So I thought that was a pretty good play on Omarosa's part. And then the third person she put up was Tanisha. Now, of course, again, these two women thought Omarosa wasn't gonna put them up because they was thinking, oh, she's a girl's girl. She's never been that. She's never been a girl's girl. I don't know why y'all thought that about Omarosa, but she definitely put up Tanisha for elimination. And so she said she put up Tanisha for elimination because Tanisha's being a floater, and Omarosa hates floaters in these shows. And so you're not gonna be flying under the radar no more, which I respect that. But also, Tanisha and Omarosa got into it last week. So again, Tanisha, babes, why didn't you think that you were going to go for elimination? So Tanisha's pissed, of course. And, you know, she says, you know, Omarosa, I expected this from you. I've been seeing through you since day one. And Omarosa was like, well, you can see it, baby. It is what it is. And so Tanisha calls Omarosa a snake. Omarosa's like, baby, I'm not a snake. I'm an alligator. I said, oh, well, all right then. So our three villains up for elimination next week are Shake, Corinne, and Tanisha. So this episode went by really fast. I did like this episode because, again, it was more the backstabbing, the talking behind people's backs, kind of, you know, that in-your-face type of drama that I enjoy on these types of shows. And so things are supposed to heat up between Omarosa and Tanisha next week. I low-key kind of feel like Omarosa and Tanisha might have planned this out. Maybe they might have had a little sidebar, and we might see video footage of that next week. I don't know. We shall see. But I am looking forward to next week's episode. So y'all let me know in the comments below who you think might be the next person eliminated. Of course, we don't know who's going to win the redemption challenge. But if Shake don't win that damn challenge, he is for sure going home. But if he does win, I don't know. I think Corinne... I don't know who would go home after that between Corinne and Tanisha, because I feel like they both have Johnny Bananas as their alliance, and then their relationships with everybody else in the house is about the same. And Bobby don't really trust Corinne no more, so I think he will vote her out in retaliation for New York. So I don't know, it's a lot. So y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, y'all, like this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel, and I'm gonna see y'all next week for episode 6 of House of Villains.